I don't know what you think about friends. I always believe that a friend is someone who will be there for you in hard times, who supports you when you fall, who celebrates with you when you rise. I believed in that. I believed in her. I believed in our friendship. I was wrong. She wasn't a friend. She was an enemy pretending to be a friend. She was the one who wanted to humiliate me. She was the one who wanted to show me I was nothing. And she almost succeeded. Almost. But I survived. I became stronger. And I found a way to reclaim everything. Not through scandal, not through shouting, but through quiet, cold, ruthless perfection. I became the perfect daughter-in-law. And I made her watch it every single day. My name is Emily. I'm 32 years old. I live in a small town in Oregon, where everyone knows everyone and gossip spreads faster than a forest fire. I work as a graphic designer, live alone, and until recently, I was sure I had a best friend. Her name was Jennifer. We met in college when we were 18. She was beautiful, confident, and always the center of attention. I was her shadow, the one who listened, who nodded, who supported. I thought we were friends. I thought she valued me. I was wrong. She valued my loyalty. She valued my willingness to play second fiddle. But when I tried to take my own place, she showed me where my real place was, behind her back in the furthest corner. It all started with her wedding. Jennifer was marrying her longtime boyfriend, Michael. She was the center of attention, and I was happy for her. I helped her choose a dress, organize the party, write the invitations. I thought we were doing it together. I thought I was her right hand. But when I arrived at the wedding, I saw where my place was, in the furthest corner, behind a pillar, barely visible. I sat there alone, watching her dance with others, laugh with them, thank everyone except me. I felt betrayed. I felt humiliated. I felt worthless. And I left, 10 minutes after the ceremony began. I didn't say a word. I just stood up and walked out. No one noticed. No one called after me. No one asked where I'd gone. She didn't notice. She was too busy. She was too happy. She was too busy being the queen of the ball. I went home and cried. I cried from hurt. I cried from anger. I cried because I'd been so foolish. I thought she was my friend. I thought she valued me. I was wrong. But I decided I wouldn't be a victim anymore. I decided I would take revenge. Not through scandal, not through shouting. I decided to become part of her family. I decided to marry her brother. I didn't know if it would work, but I knew I had to try. I met her brother, David, a month after the wedding. He was 5 years older than her, worked as an architect, and was calm, caring, and smart. I'd always liked him, but I'd never thought of him as a potential partner. Now I started thinking. I started watching him. I started looking for opportunities to meet. I started smiling at him when he walked by. I started taking an interest in his life. And he started noticing me. We started dating 2 months later. It was easy. We talked about books, music, work. We laughed at the same jokes. We felt comfortable with each other. I knew he was falling in love with me. I knew this was my chance. And I decided I wouldn't let it slip away. A year later, we got married. It was a modest wedding, just family. I didn't invite Jennifer. I didn't want her there. But she came anyway. She couldn't miss her own brother's wedding. She sat in the back row, and I could see her watching me. There was hatred in her eyes.
I smilte her.
I was happy. I had become her sister-in-law. I was part of her family, and there was nothing she could do about it. The next morning, I woke up in a house that belonged to her family. I was in the room she'd once occupied. I was in her house, in her world, and I could feel how much she hated me. But I wasn't afraid. I knew I would win. I knew I would become the perfect daughter-in-law. I knew I would become the family's favorite. I knew she would suffer watching me, and I reveled in it. The first few weeks after the wedding were tense. Jennifer avoided me. She didn't come to family dinners, didn't call, didn't write. But I knew it wouldn't last. She couldn't avoid me forever. She was part of the family, and she had to see me. I was calm. I was confident. I knew my revenge was just beginning. The first family dinner she attended was a month after the wedding. We gathered at her mother Margaret's house. I came with flowers and a cake. I hugged my new family's mother and said, "I'm so glad I'm finally part of this family." Margaret smiled at me. I could see her looking at me with warmth. Warmth she'd never shown me when I was just Jennifer's friend. Now I was her daughter-in-law. I was part of her family, and I was going to become her favorite. Jennifer sat at the table and watched me. She didn't say a word. She just watched me talk to her mother, her brother, her father. I could see her anger growing. But I didn't stop. I kept smiling. I kept being perfect. I helped set the table, talked to the guests, did everything to become the center of attention. I knew it was killing her, and I savored it. When dinner ended, I approached Jennifer and said, "Thank you for coming. I know it's hard for you, but I want you to know, I don't want any hostility. I want to be part of this family. I want us to be friends." She looked at me with hatred. "We will never be friends," she said. I smiled. "I know, but I want you to know. I'm here. I'll always be here. I'll be part of this family. And you can't do anything about it." She turned and walked away. I watched her go and felt satisfaction grow inside me. My revenge was beautiful. I didn't shout, I didn't make a scene. I just became better. I became perfect. And that hurt more than any outburst ever could. Over the next few months, I worked hard to become the family's favorite. I cared for her mother when she was sick. I helped her father in the garden. I cooked Sunday dinners for the whole family. I was the perfect daughter-in-law, the perfect wife, the perfect sister-in-law. And I watched Jennifer suffer. She saw her mother say, "Emily is so caring. Why can't you be like that?" She saw her father smile at me. She saw her brother hug me. She'd lost control of her family. She'd lost her place in the spotlight. And she hated me for it. But I didn't stop. I kept being perfect. I kept winning her relatives' hearts. I kept tearing her world apart. I knew this was only the beginning. I knew there would be many more family holidays, dinners, moments when she'd feel like a stranger in her own family. And I savored every second. Several more months passed. I continued building my reputation as the perfect daughter-in-law. Every Sunday I'd visit Margaret, Jennifer's mother, with a homemade pie or fresh flowers. I'd help her clean, listen to her stories about her youth, laugh at her jokes. She started calling me daughter. I could see how much it infuriated Jennifer. She couldn't stand hearing her mother speak about me with a warmth she'd never shown her own daughter. But I didn't stop. I was patient. I knew my revenge would be long and sweet. Family dinners became my favorite ritual. I always arrived first, helped set the table, arranged plates, decorated with flowers. I talked to every family member, took an interest in their lives, remembered their birthdays. I became the center of attention, and I watched Jennifer sit in the corner, gritting her teeth, trying to keep face. She couldn't understand how I'd become this way. She couldn't understand how I'd won over her family. She couldn't understand why I hadn't disappeared from her life. But I was here. I was part of her family, and I wasn't going anywhere. One evening after dinner, I stayed in the kitchen with Margaret. We were washing dishes when she said, "Emily, you're so caring. I don't know what I'd do without you. You're better than my own daughter." I smiled and said, "Thank you, Mom. I try." I knew she was listening. I'd heard her footsteps. She'd heard what her mother said, and I knew it broke her. After Margaret left, I approached Jennifer. She was standing in the hallway, red-eyed and fists clenched. She looked at me, and I could see her hatred overflowing. "Are you happy now?" she said. "You got what you wanted. You became the family favorite. You destroyed my life." I looked at her with a cold smile. "I didn't destroy your life, Jennifer. You destroyed it yourself. You put me in the furthest corner at your wedding. You showed me I was nothing to you. I just showed you what it's like to be nothing. Now you know what it's like to sit in the corner and watch someone else take your place." She cried. She turned and ran. I watched her go and felt cold satisfaction grow inside me. A month after that conversation, we celebrated Margaret's birthday. I organized everything, ordered the cake, decorated the house, invited the guests. I wanted the day to be perfect. I wanted everyone to see how I cared for her mother. I wanted Jennifer to see that I'd become the center of attention. When everyone gathered, Margaret said, "Emily, you're such a wonderful daughter-in-law. I don't know what I'd do without you." I smiled and said, "Thank you, Mom. You mean a lot to me too." I glanced at Jennifer. She stood in the corner with a hollow look. She knew she'd lost. She knew I'd won. And it was the best feeling in the world. After the birthday party, I approached Jennifer. She was standing outside, smoking and staring at the moon. "I'm sorry it turned out this way," I said. She looked at me with disbelief. "You're sorry? You destroyed my life." I shook my head. "I didn't destroy your life, Jennifer. You destroyed it yourself. You thought I was weak. You thought I was nothing. You thought I couldn't hurt you. You were wrong. I'm stronger than you think. I'm smarter than you think. I became the perfect daughter-in-law not to get revenge on you. I became the perfect daughter-in-law to show you what you lost. She cried. You're evil, Emily. Just evil. I smiled. Maybe, but I'm also happy. I love your brother. I love your mother. I love my life. And I'm not going to change it. You can hate me. You can be angry at me. But you can't change anything. I'm here. I'm part of this family. And I'm not leaving. Jennifer left. I was alone. I stared at the stars and felt peace spread through me. My revenge was complete. I didn't shout, didn't make a scene, didn't humiliate her. I just became better. I became perfect. And I made her watch it every day. That was my victory. And I savored every second. I knew the story wasn't just about revenge. It was a lesson that every person deserves justice. A lesson that you can't let anyone humiliate you. A lesson that sometimes the best revenge is simply being happy. I was happy. I found love, found family, found my place. And I knew no one could take that from me. When I tell this story, I don't want you to think I'm cruel. I just want you to know, if you've been betrayed, if you've been humiliated, if you've been put in the furthest corner, you don't have to endure it. You can rise. You can become stronger. You can find your way. And you can prove to everyone who thought you were nothing that they were wrong. I did it. You can too. I continue living my life. I'm happy with my husband. I love my new family. Jennifer hardly shows up at family gatherings anymore. She can't stand seeing me. She can't stand seeing everyone love me. She's left alone. But that's not my fault. It's her choice. She chose to be an enemy. I chose to be a winner. A year passed. I was no longer just the perfect daughter-in-law. I was the heart of the family. I organized all the holidays, picked out the gifts, decided where we'd vacation in the summer. I'd become indispensable. And I watched it destroy Jennifer. She almost stopped coming to family dinners. She missed birthdays. She avoided me, but I knew she couldn't hide forever. She was part of this family, and she had to come back. And she did. Christmas. It was the first family holiday she'd attended in 6 months. I watched her stand at the doorstep, clutching a bottle of wine. She looked tired. She looked broken. I smiled and said, Jennifer, I'm so glad to see you. Come in, sit down. We were just about to have dinner. She didn't answer. She just walked past me, sat at the table, and lowered her head. I could see her clenching her hands. I could see her fear. I could feel her anger boiling inside her. But I wasn't afraid. I was calm. I was confident. I was the winner. Dinner passed in tense silence. Jennifer barely spoke. She just watched me, her mother, her brother. She watched them smile at me. She watched them praise my cooking. She watched them hug me, and she couldn't stand it. But she stayed silent. She knew that if she said anything, she'd show weakness. She didn't want to be weak, but she already was weak. She'd already lost. After dinner, I stayed in the kitchen with Margaret. We were washing dishes when she said, Emily, I'm so glad we have you. You've changed our family. You've brought us happiness. I smiled and hugged her. Thank you, Mom. I'm so glad you accepted me. I knew Jennifer was standing outside the door. I heard her footsteps. I knew she heard every word. And I knew it broke her heart. But I didn't stop. I kept being perfect. I kept being the one everyone loved. I kept tearing her world apart. A few minutes later, I went outside. Jennifer was standing on the porch, smoking and staring into the darkness. I approached her. You look tired, I said. Are you okay? She turned to me, and I saw tears in her eyes. Am I okay? She said. You destroyed my life. You took my family. You took everything. And you ask if I'm okay. I looked at her and shook my head. I didn't take your family, Jennifer. You lost them yourself. You pushed them away with your selfishness. You only thought about yourself. You never thought about them. I love your mother. I love your brother. I love your father. And I care for them. You never did. You always thought only of yourself. And now you see what happens when someone else starts thinking about them. They understand what real love is. They understand what real care is. And they chose me. Not because I'm better than you, but because I love them more. She cried. She fell to her knees and sobbed. I looked down at her and felt neither pity nor joy, only emptiness. The emptiness after getting what I wanted. I don't want you to suffer, I said. I just want you to understand. Your actions have consequences. You put me in the furthest corner at your wedding. You told me I was nothing. You thought I couldn't hurt you. You were wrong. I didn't want to hurt you. I just wanted to show you what it's like to be nothing. And now you know. You know what it's like to sit in the corner and watch someone else take your place. You know what it's like to be forgotten. You know what it's like to be nothing. Now we're even. She stood up. She looked at me with hatred. You're evil, Emily. Just evil. I smiled. Maybe. But I'm also happy. I love your brother. I love your mother. I love my life. And I'm not going to change it. You can hate me. You can be angry at me. But you can't change anything. I'm here. I'm part of this family. And I'm not leaving. She turned and walked away. I watched her go and felt peace spread through me. My revenge was complete. I didn't shout, didn't make a scene, didn't humiliate her. I just became better. I became perfect. And I made her watch it every day. That was my victory. And I savored every second. Several more years passed. I continue living my life. I'm happy with my husband. I love my new family. Jennifer hardly shows up at family gatherings anymore. She can't stand seeing me. She can't stand seeing everyone love me. She's left alone. But that's not my fault. It's her choice. She chose to be an enemy. I chose to be a winner. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I hadn't met David. If I hadn't married him. If I hadn't become the perfect daughter-in-law. I would have stayed the one she put in the furthest corner. I would have stayed the one who didn't know her own worth. But I didn't stay. I became stronger. I became better. I became someone she never could have imagined. If you've been betrayed, if you've been humiliated, if you've been put in the furthest corner, remember, you're not alone. You can rise. You can become stronger. You can find your way. And you can prove to everyone who thought you were nothing that they were wrong. I did it. You can too. Subscribe to the channel if you also believe that justice must prevail. Share in the comments how you've dealt with betrayal. It would mean a lot to know I'm not alone. Hit like if my story resonated with you. And remember, you're stronger than you think. Even when you feel broken, you can rise. That was my path. Could be yours too. Bye for now.